back, YouTube. So it's been a minute. Had some stuff happen recently, and we're not going to get into that. But I had a work car. It was a 2003 Mini Cooper. Traded around, did some trading around. Ended up with a motorcycle and all this cool stuff. Well, then we ended up with a Fox Body Mustang. Now, if you know me, I'm not a Ford guy, but I'm down for a good deal. And this guy gave me a pretty good deal. He wanted a motorcycle. He didn't really drive the car much. What's sitting right here behind me is the car. Now, we have a couple other things that I'm going to show you before we get into today's video with this Mustang. We're working on some stuff with the S10. Got the rear end back. Going to be getting the engines and stuff back. Hopefully by the end of this month, maybe next. The Camaro, haven't done much with it. Ended up buying a cage for it. We'll go through that. We also got a cage for the S10 and some other goodies. So this is going to be a jam-packed video. Hopefully I can get it all smashed down into a 15 or 20 minute video. But might as well get right to it. So for starting out, here's part of the cage for the S10. And we went to Logan Welding, a local place, and picked up some 3x3, 3/16 thick square tubing. It's a little bit thicker than what it's supposed to be, but it's thicker than the plates for the floor, but it is, it's also technically it's thicker than the cage too, but it's pretty close to the same thickness as the frame. So that's what we wanted to stick with, because those are outriggers coming off the frame. There's the door bars, and I can't remember what all. We had it all laid out. We're starting to burn it in. But before I show you guys on the inside of here, we ended up taking all the molding off on both sides. Used a 3M Whizzy wheel and completely took all the stuff off the side of it. And when we were doing that, we noticed that we have a couple little tiny bubbles appearing right here. We're not too worried about them right now. We're gonna just do a kind of a quick repair on those to make sure it doesn't rust. But you can see right here, you can see in the cage, and we also put in the new body mounts all underneath of it. Went ahead and put the drag lights on the front, drag lights on the rear, and if you can see it, those are 5/8 studs on this 8/8. So now we're gonna move around to this rear end. It has a Moser rear cover. This is probably a better angle. It has 35 spline axles in it. It has the 9-inch conversion with a full spool. It has the bigger hardened universal joint yoke on for the pinion. This has the disc brakes for the Ford Explorer. So nothing really special there. We read you don't really have to have C-clip eliminators or the 9-inch conversion with the disc brakes, but we're going for high horsepower, so disc brakes is just a added bonus to be on there for the braking power, because all of our braking power is mostly going to be in the rear. So if you guys are wondering how we did this brake setup, so this one over here is the factory passenger side hose for a Ford Explorer, and that is as well. We just put them on both sides, made these little brackets, these little tabs that come off of it, and bolted them to that, and then ran it right over into the factory 99 S10 brake hose, and then made a bracket that came off of there, which is actually technically the factory bracket for the S10, but we just drilled a hole in the side right here. There's no hole, there is over here, but our brake lines don't come off of this side, so we went over here. We got cow tracks, as you can see. We picked those up for a good deal. Local guy had them, and he was going to a different setup, and or a newer setup. I don't know exactly what it was, but he sold us his leaf springs that he had kind of cut down and simplified for his application, and it's going to work for ours as well. It does lower the back end of the truck down about 2 inches when it's sitting there, so we're going to have to mess around with the front. I think we're going to end up going with some coilover conversions, the QA1s, the same ones that I'm running on the Camaro on Playboy. And he is naming this truck Dime Bag. I don't know if I've said that before. It's going to be a little bit controversial. I don't know how it's going to go on YouTube. We're going to try it out. Hopefully we don't get like our video taken down. But so this is a mock-up block that we got from a buddy of ours. It is a 5.7 aluminum block. But anyways, we're using it as a mock-up. We have the transmission on the back there. We're just trying to do this so we can figure out how all of our stuff's going to clear. We did go and we bought a set of headers for an S10. Now, headers are great for NA, nitrous, all that good stuff. They're not good for boost, for the S10, for these type of headers. They're not thick enough. They will crack. We're going to have a guy has one of these S10s that has an LS in it with boost, and he put the turbos in the bed and the whole nine, and he said he had problems with those cracking. And he thought it was just his headers. He bought a whole nother set, and they cracked again. So he went to the cast iron manifolds that are for the S10, which are going to be all right. In a couple videos, I've actually watched a couple of Richard Holdner's videos, and they flow significantly better than the factory ones. So we're not losing a whole lot of flow. We're gaining a whole lot of room. We're gaining a whole lot more reliability with the setup. So he's looking at a sheet metal intake with a 102 millimeter throttle body to put in here. And we're actually thinking about, instead of running the cold side through the cab, I think he's thinking about running it underneath the cab and running it in, because it doesn't change. Like, you can have a 4 foot long or a 10 foot long cold pipe coming in from the turbo, and it's not going to change anything. The only thing that changes is the exhaust, but it is what it is. I'm going to get on the inside of here. Sorry, the garage is a little bit messy. You saw a little bit of sneak peek of that Mustang. But as we move in here, we went and bought a Kirky seat from another local person that was selling it. We got a really good deal on it. We bought the seat and the cover for less than what you could buy just the seat for. So on the inside here, you can see down here, we already cut a hole for the front bars for the cage. Yeah, it's an ugly hole. It's getting covered up with a 6x6 steel plate. So these are ugly holes as well. If for you guys that are building an S10, the Kirky seat that we got, so it was brand new in the box still, and it had 4 holes drilled in the seat already. Those 4 holes line up with 4 of the 6 factory bolts in the factory seat sliders. So no need to go and buy aftermarket sliders, especially saying how these fit in your truck. As you can see, it's just the back ones here that don't go, but there's that one, and there's one up front, and they go right in. You don't have any issues. Now you will have to, we ended up putting washers underneath of it to kind of help with that, kind of help with how it's sitting. We're going to end up welding in a block here, or really a block, but a piece of tubing in right there, and dressing it up real nice to be able to run the bolt through and elevate the seat forward, because it's just sitting too far back. And what else? When the studs come through, you're going to have to grind them off, obviously, but you can't really feel them when you're sitting down. I mean, I can't feel them, but I have a little bit of wiggle room inside of the seat per se. So, but and then if you can see, so we had once talked about this before. we are going to go with the motion steering column and wheel and all that stuff. And we're going to have to figure out how to do our brake pedal. And we bought that brand new booster, put it in there. It's never even been used. And we're deciding to go to manual brakes. Talked to a few people, and they said as long as you follow the instructions on that, you can't really tell a difference. So we have an assemble all that stuff here. If anybody needs it, we have it. And we're going to eventually try to find a black dash and black door cards, I believe. That's if he wants to go into the streetcar classes, which we're thinking about it, because if we do the streetcar class, then we cannot run a fuel cell in the truck. So we're going to buy the Blazer tank that sits back here in the back, and it that'll get more weight back here. And we're just going to end up doing the in-tank fuel pumps, 2 of them, and we're going to run a 450 to start everything up and have it at idle basically. And then when it sees 3,500 RPM or so, we're going to have a secondary pump, which is like equivalent to a Hellcat pump. It's a 525, and it's going to kick on. It's all going to be ran through the Terminator X and some extra switches and stuff that the Terminator X ain't even going to be able to read. So we're getting some headway on this. So, okay, we're going to move on outside, and I'm going to run through the stuff with the Camaro and a few other things. All right, so here's Playboy, my 1978 Camaro. We have not done much to it. It's still sitting in the same way that it was on the last video that I made. I mean, heck, I'm not even gone over here to really clean it up since I did all that body work and stuff right there. And it still ain't perfect, but I don't care. It's not perfect. It'll be all right. I need to air up that tire up front, though. Yeah, I'm still fighting that stupid thing. It keeps going flat. I've had it to the tire shop 3 or 4 times. There's all the body molding from the S10. Okay, so this is a van that my dad had ended up purchasing from Pepsi. It's locked right now. I can go back in and get the key, but you might be able to see. You can see inside there. There's the cage and fuel cell and all that stuff. And I also have the engine hoist and a few other things in there. But that's the cage for the Camaro. It's just an EWS cage. And then still have my transmission sitting out here and his torque converter for his Turbo 400, which isn't going to be any good to us anyways, but there's no point for it to collect water and completely ruin it. But yeah, that's basically the update for all of the current, past parts of what we've been doing. Sorry I haven't really filmed much. Haven't really felt like it. Just like I said, had some other stuff going on. Okay, now we get to the, I had something with my beard there. Now we get to the big thing that I started this video off with. Before you see it, this thing is not in the best of shape. From the outside, it looks like it isn't, but it is 99% solid. It has a bunch of surface rust all over it, but nothing's going through. And the deck lid, like all Fox bodies, the deck lid does have rust in it. Right where you would think it is, right where you stick your hand in there to grab a hold of it to lift it up. And then also on the driver's side lower torque box, it has a size about the size of like a Pepsi can. We're just going to get the torque box reinforcement kit, throw on it, get some subframe connectors, throw on it, and the deck lid doesn't prevent it from going fast. The strut towers, both of those are good. And this thing has a 351 Windsor in it. It's out of a 94 3/4 ton pickup. It's been converted over to run on just a carburetor. We're going to stick with the carburetor for right now. This is actually not going to be mine or my dad's build. We're going to be helping with the build, but this is my cousin's wanting to get into this type of stuff. He said, I just want to kind of dabble into the same stuff as what you and your dad are doing. And I told him, I said, dude, you don't just dabble in this stuff. You're going to try to dabble in it. That's what my dad tried to do, and you can see where he's at with the S10. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you this Fox body. So, this is it. I started cleaning it up. You can see the difference in coloration between the fender and the door. We're going to eventually get it all cleaned up, and it's going to look pretty good, I'd say, when it's done. I really love the patina on it. I hate that they went through and they tried to primer that and fix it and all that stuff, but man, if it would have been all just the patina on it, it would have looked pretty good. And you can tell this is also an after, like a newer or different deck lid, because the paint's not even the same. And you can tell it was black, and they didn't do a very good job of sanding it to get the paint to stick. And I don't think they painted underneath of this either. I think they just left it on there. But yeah, it's not all crusty. It's dented. It has some beauty marks on it. The interior, so there's no door card over here. There's nothing that holds the window in there. It just rattles along. And this one, I mean, it rattles, but it doesn't make near the noise that one over there does. And when you drive this thing right now, you have to have the windows down. It stinks horribly. There's been moisture that's gotten in there from that stuff not being on that window, and it smells a little rough. We already made a panel in here to hold the shifter, and got that all adjusted. It's all right. It's not perfect, but it did come with a center console and all that stuff. We're going to strip the interior out of this thing. We're going to put a set of seats in it like what's in the Camaro. We're going to put a new door card on that side, and we're going to put black carpet back in it, and hopefully we can get to cover up everything, because this was a 5-speed car. It's now an automatic, and he's going to put a B&M Pro ratchet shift shifter in there. And we're going to go ahead and take out the e-brake right here and take all that stuff out and kind of smooth it all out. And hopefully, if the carpet doesn't cover it, then we'll get some carpet to patch in there and kind of hopefully make it look pretty good. But yeah, it's not terrible. And it does have a couple spots. There's a spot like right here, and a spot way back there on the back side in the front. But nothing that can't be fixed with a little bit of sheet metal and a little bit of work. So now we're getting to this engine. It has a Holley, I think it's a 650, nothing special on there. Has this, I think that's an Elbrock intake. I'm not 100% sure. But, heck, it could be a Jegs cheap knockoff. It does pretty good. Wait, what does it say over here? It is... Oh, it's an Assault. So, yep, it's a cheap knockoff. As you guys, if you guys remember from my Camaro, it had an Assault ignition box on it, so and it worked pretty good. I think that's actually an Assault distributor too, but that might be factory. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna mess with the timing a little bit because it's at idle. It's starting to get a little hot. Well, I don't know if it's the timing exactly now because there was no overflow on it. Well, we just put this. I just put this on there. I drilled the cap there and put black tape to where this can't pull back through. Filled it up with just water right now to make sure it's not leaking anything. It has roughly a half gallon or so of water in it. If it doesn't leak, I'm going to fill it up the rest of the way with straight coolant. And because we're going to run this thing a little bit on the street for a little while before we start tearing it apart. There's a whole lot of wiring and stuff that has to be taken off here and simplified down. Like the AC lines over there, they're going to be taken out. And it's just going to have heat on it. He's gonna, so like I said, my cousin wants to do this build. He's gonna actually do a Ford engine. I don't know anything about Fords. I mean, I'll learn about them as I have a little bit with Jacob Riggs and Jacob Wires. We're doing this 351, and he's going to put heads on it. The intake's pretty decent. We're going to put a better carburetor on it, and leave those headers alone. I'm trying to talk him into just running NA for right now with a small shot of boost of nitrous, not boost, but nitrous. But we're going to get another stock block 351 out of a pickup. And we're going to have it bored and stroked, and it's going to be a 408 stroker. So it's going to be the same size cubic inch displacement as my Camaro. And he is going to boost it to the nines, basically. It's going to be built to the nines, and it's going to be boosted to the skies. So I think he's planning on running twin turbos on it, and they're all going to be up front mounted. And this thing is not going to be red much longer because he wants to paint this thing purple. Now, if you've never seen a purple Fox body, you ought to go look one up because they look pretty good. I like purple. I thought about painting my Camaro purple, but a guy, a buddy of mine that doesn't live too far away, he just painted his purple. I'm not going to copy him. And being the car's called Playboy, I don't think the Camaro would look good as purple. I think we're going to go with, it's probably going to end up being like a deep red color. So like a really dark red, almost like a maroon, almost like what my GMC is, or my dad's 3/4 ton truck is. But onto this car, I don't know what we're going to name it yet. I have no idea. We got to come up with a name for it. I just put my tag for my car that I wrecked a while back on it, and got everything done so we can drive it. But I'm not a big fan of these taillights, but they're in pretty good shape, so it'd be kind of hard to take them out of there. And taillights don't make you go fast. It's just a cosmetic thing. And along with this fender, I'm going to straighten this fender up. You can see the door got into it a little bit, but the fender is loose. I mean, just a little bit loose. I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be like that. I'm not a Ford guy. GM stuff fits a little tighter, I think, my opinion. But also got a LED conversion for these, or yeah, it was a LED, like the H3 or bulb, I think, conversion for these headlights with the car. And I want to say there's some other stuff, but just a couple quick things to fix. That door card, this door handle, it's all jacked up. And we gotta put the brakes on the rear. So this thing has 31 spline axles in it with a disc conversion on it, and 5-lug already. So I do know that about Mustangs. They come with a factory 4-lug, and this thing already has a 5-lug conversion done all the way around. So that's set up pretty good as it sits. And I know for a fact they didn't ever come with a 351. Somebody said California patrol cars, some of them came with a 351. I've never seen one, but I'm not saying it's not out there. So but just the quick things to fix is that door handle, that door card, and he wants to get a different hood, and then also the cover for the cowl. And that's really it for right now. We're going to end up popping most of the dents out, and I'll try to get all the dents out except for like the little tiny ones that are here and there. We're going to sand the car down, primer it, and paint it what he calls Barney purple, but it's just purple. And I think he might do some, it might go more along with that Barney theme. So its name might end up becoming Barney or something along the lines of that, because it's going to be lime green is the other color he chose. And I think the engine's going to end up being painted lime green, and then he's going to do either a pinstripe on the side or do some kind of decal or something of some sort on the side or anywhere on the car, really. that's lime green. So it's going to be painted and put together as if it was being built in the 90s almost. So that's like perfect for this car because it's an 86, and it is an 86 GT. I didn't know this, but I guess 84, 85, and 86 GTs are the only ones that came with the spoilers in the rear on the rear windows, or louvers, I guess is what they are, not spoilers. But we got to get some different tires, different wheels for this thing, and it does set up extremely high in the rear end. I don't know why, but I don't know if it's supposed to sit like that or if it's just the wheels and tires that are on it that's making it seem like it is. But this thing, if we put a tire underneath of it right now, it would do pretty good. It doesn't hook at all on these tires. You can just be rolling down the road and crack into it, and it'll kick the whole back end sideways. So we got to figure that out too, because if you like go up as if you're going to stage and do a burnout before for racing, it wants to get squirrely, and we don't want that. So we got to figure out, that might be where the torque box has that rot in it, and we're going to fix that. We're going to put, like I said, we're going to do all the stuff to it that needs to be done. But we got to figure that out, because we don't want that happening at the track. But I'm going to go ahead and get to working on this and get some stuff figured out, and I will probably make a part 2 to this, and or a whole nother video, and post it later on messing with this thing. So thanks guys for watching, and catch you next time.